Hello, everyone. We're starting in 5 minutes. We're starting, everyone. Please come into the conference room. Welcome, everyone, to the Middle East Network Operators Group. This is our 15th meeting. My name is Usama Dosari. I'm the part of the coordination committee. For those of you who are new to Middle East Network Operators Group, or MENOG for short, it's basically an open forum, a non-profit open forum for us to get together, to collaborate, to share experience in our community here, and to learn from each other, and to network and build relationships that can help us better operate the internet. And I would like just to say a couple of things that the success of the event really depends on your participation, and your participation comes in many forms. The most important form is actually interacting here, is reaching out to people and talking to people, meeting people, and also interacting during the sessions. So when you have a question, or when you don't understand something, or something's not clear, that you come up and talk and ask and challenge, and that's extremely important. And also your participation in terms of coming up maybe next, if you don't have a session today or this event, coming up next time around and sharing your own experience in your organization. And also participation in terms of helping out with setting up these meetings, because these meetings are all volunteer-based. Everyone helping out here is our volunteers. So we need, MENOG is you. You are MENOG. It's not a separate organization. Everybody in this room is MENOG. So we need your help in keeping MENOG alive, keeping it running, and keeping it fruitful for everyone. And with that, I'd like to introduce our keynote presentation, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Freh from CITC in Saudi Arabia. He's going to be talking about IPv6 deployment and promotion in Saudi Arabia.
Should be working now. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Osama, for the introduction. My name is Ibrahim Al-Freh. I'm the General Manager for the Internet Services in Saudi Arabia. First of all, CITC is the ICT regulator in Saudi Arabia. Part of its mandate is to promote IT in the country. I'll give, in this presentation, a background about Saudi Arabia, the ICT scene, some of the statistics, and I'll try to cover some of the countries in the region. I'll give an overview of what we have done to promote IPv6 in the past few years, and the results of an IPv6 survey that we have done recently, and what are the coming steps and the roadmap for the IPv6 promotion and deployment. So quick background. Internet has been growing in Saudi Arabia quite rapidly. If we look at 2005, the internet penetration was about 13%. Now we are talking about 55%, with about 16 to 17 million users in Saudi Arabia. And at the same time, broadband has been growing rapidly in the country. Okay, thanks, Sam. If we look at fixed broadband, which is the one on the left, now broadband connections is available in about 45% of the houses in the households in Saudi Arabia, with about close to 3 million subscribers, fixed broadband subscribers. And if we look at mobile broadband, we're talking about 13 to 14 million subscribers in Saudi Arabia, which is much higher than the fixed broadband. Mobile broadband has been now almost like an accessory with everyone. When he moves around in his car, he has his own 4G or 3G router moving with him. So it's normal to see like 2-3 broadband subscriptions per house. Everyone will want to have his mobile connection going with when he moves around. And again, all this growth and will require IP numbers. If we look, okay, this one the trick here. So I'll use the mouse here if you allow me. Is it visible? Okay. This graph shows you how many IP version 4 addresses have been allocated to entities in Saudi Arabia. You can see the graph growing nicely from 99, and when the internet started to pick up, the graph also picked up. So in 2009, we're talking about 3 million IPv4 addresses assigned to networks within Saudi Arabia, and the graph kept growing until around 2012. So in 2012, this is where RIPE announced that they have no more, they're starting allocating from their last IPv4 block. We have seen from the previous graph that the number of users continued to grow. But if you look at the blue line here, which is the number of IP addresses allocated to entities, it started to become flat. So this created an addressing gap for Saudi Arabia. And this is an issue that we have been working since 2008 trying to avoid. If we look at some of the countries in the region, you can see also that internet is growing. There are only a few countries where we're talking about internet penetration of more than 70%. Most of the other countries in the region are in the growing phase. So they expect a lot of users to join the internet. And again, all of these users will need IP addresses. If we look at how many IP addresses allocated to those countries, you can see that the highest number, of course, will be to Turkey, Iran, where they have the highest population, Saudi Arabia next, United Arab Emirates. So this is how many IPv4 allocated to networks in those countries. Compare that to the population and to the addresses per capita, you can see that the percentages are very low. You are talking about 0.2, 0.1, 0.2. So the numbers are very low, which means that a lot of users will be sharing the same IP addresses unless something else is done. So there's a clear addressing gap. The region is in a phase of high growth. But what can you do about this addressing gap? Of course, operators, their main concern will be to get more users, more revenue. That will be the first priority for them. Second priority will be, of course, the quality of service and what services the user can use for that. So what can people do to bridge this gap? There are approaches that are based on current IPv4 technologies, mainly NAT and CGNAT. And we started seeing a lot of CGNATing done in the area. So what's wrong with CGNAT or NATing solutions in general? There are some security issues. Overblocking, for example. If one IP address is one user is doing a bad thing and a website decided to block it, it will block multiple users. It will not be only one user that is blocked. So this is an issue. User identification. If you are accessing your bank, the bank cannot tell really now who used this IP. It could be you. It could be another user using the same IP address. it will become an issue for services that are sold on the internet and authentication is based on the IP, like some library services that used to be. They cannot really now depend on the IP to identify users. There are some complications, of course, for law enforcement. For forensics for e-crimes is becoming more and more challenging. You cannot identify users by their IP number. If you are investigating a crime, it will take a lot of time really to do the forensics. Logs, what logs do you really need to keep? You have to keep now the access logs, the NATing logs, probably multiple NATing. You have to keep a port number somewhere here and there. So there are a lot of data that have to be kept really to identify users. Of course, all this equipment will require cost, and we're talking about the value of the solutions, like the cost of the CGNs, and plus if there are any delays or suboptimal services for the customers. These solutions also are not scalable. There are a lot of issues with scalability and the services that the quality of the service that is provided to the user. For example, at my house, I have fiber connection to my house, but I cannot really start anything. I cannot start a hosting service. I cannot start any garage services from my house. I have to always depend on hosted and services hosted outside. If I have IP numbers available to me, public IPs, I can do a lot of more things with the connection that I have at home. At the end, these solutions are not sustainable. They are good, really, they will work out in the transitional period, but in the long term, as more and more users coming, those are not sustainable solutions. And as you all know, the IPv6 is the only solution moving forward. We have understood this in 2000s, earlier, a few years back, and in Saudi Arabia, we have started in mid of 2007, an effort led by CITC to get everyone together, service provider, the content providers in Saudi Arabia, the major hosting companies, get them together and work to promote IPv6 in Saudi Arabia. Our main objective at that time was to ensure the continuous development of the internet in the country. That was the main objective that we wanted to achieve. Together with the stakeholders, I'll come to who are the main stakeholders shortly. We developed a strategy objectives and strategy tracks. The strategy was based on two main components, infrastructure track and awareness track. We wanted in 2007 and 2008, we wanted really to focus on the main internet gateways in Saudi Arabia. So we were talking mainly to the facility-based provider, the big service providers. We wanted to talk to ISPs. We started talking to the Saudi CCTLD. And we started talking to some of the key government agencies in Saudi Arabia, make sure that they are ready for IPv6 development, and this is something coming and they have to be aware of. So we started talking to those service providers, talking to security agencies. We were talking to Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance is responsible for all the government purchases, making sure that they know that there's something called IPv6 coming and they have to be ready for it. This took us some time, but at the end, some achievements were made. On the awareness track, we created the task force, which has been very active from 2008 until now. We started working with some international partners, mainly RIBE, MENOG, and other partners. They were helping us a lot. We conducted several IPv6 trainings, and we started talking to organizations to make sure their procurement policies are will require IPv6, and we'll go in more details on this later. Who are the main stakeholders that will be working with us in the past few years? National and international participation, we had a lot of that. Service providers were very active with us in the task force. The government agencies, they were really ready and supported CITC in their efforts. Vendors, major banks, enterprises, and universities. They were all coming to the meeting, sharing their experience with us, learning from previous experiences. Again, one of really of the major partners that we really want to thank is RIBE and also the MENOG. They helped us a lot with presentations, with IPv6 Roadshow was very effective, and more and more people we expect to come. The task force we had until now, the first kickoff meeting was in July 2008. Until now, we have 14 meetings. Every year, we have 2 to 3 meetings. With every meeting, we'll have a 3-day IPv6 training and a 1 full day of IPv6 sessions. The task force has become for now for entities who have any issues, people who talk to their service provider and the service cannot help them with their IPv6. The task force has been a good platform to get them together, talk to each other, and try to solve issues. And a few cases have been solved in the task force by getting the service provider and the user together in one room. Training, until now we have we have conducted the IPv6 Roadshow 6 times until now. The next one will be coming in May this year. We developed our own internal training, IPv6 training, which is a 1-day training session. We have conducted this already 2 times. One time for Aramco, which is the big oil company. And the second time, we got all the Saudi banks together in one room with help from SAMA, Saudi Arabian Monetary Agency. And we had a 1 full day only for IPv6 training with all the banks available. And if we will look at the stats later, and you can see the Saudi banks are really picking up on IPv6. National conferences, we had until now 2 conferences attended by over 500 attendees. The next one will be in Q2 next year. This is quickly about what have been done in the past, and some of the key achievements that we were able to achieve in the past few years. The number of Saudi entities that have IPv6 addresses from RIPE increased from 2 when we started and now we are talking about more than 50. Some entities have started providing their services. Most of the Saudi banks already have their IPv6 blocks. Some of them, their website is IPv6 ready and enabled. In CITC, we have built a test lab that is available for all stakeholders who wanted to use it, test a few things. The Saudi CCTLD is IPv6 ready. Anyone who has a Saudi domain name and want to add a quad A record, he can do that now. Actually, since 2009, he should be able to do that. And one of the achievements that was done by the task force was a tunnel broker. A tunnel broker was built by CITC, and it's available. It's an open source software. You can download it from our IPv6 website, which is ipv6.sa. Those are the entities that have IPv6 addresses. I don't want to go on all of this list, but what we can notice from looking at this list is that things started in 2003 and 2004 by CAXT and STC. Those were the only 2 internet gateways in Saudi Arabia at that time. And then things were flat for a long time, until 2009 when some of the new service providers started picking up. So we're talking about Mobile, STC, CITC, we got our block in 2009. ITC, which is a major service provider. All the growth here is by enterprises, banks, some of the big corporates in Saudi Arabia. Yes, sir, which is the e-government program, they have a good progress on IPv6. They are working a lot on that. And they have already made 2 presentations to the task force about their plan, their IPv6 plans for the government of Saudi Arabia. This graph is from the RIPE website. It shows the percentage of networks that route IPv6 blocks. Before we started our efforts in 2007, 2008, the graph was flat, 0. No network in Saudi Arabia was announcing IPv6 blocks. When we started to have some movement. Some networks started announcing IPv6, and then things started to grow. And now we are on the average with the RIPE region. The blue one is the Middle East. So we're almost double the Middle East average. We're on par with the RIPE region on average. So to keep this growth and start providing services, what we have decided as a strategy is to move now to the enterprise. We really need to work as enterprise. In the project that we are working on from 2008 until 2012, we were mainly focusing on service providers, establishing the task force, focusing on the core of the internet services like the domain name, filtering, security services. All this took some time. Now we are focusing more and more on enterprises. And you can see that the last assignments were mainly by enterprises, banks, some of the big car companies in Saudi Arabia, and so on. Also, in this year, we wanted to work with on four pilot projects. I have one slide on this, so I'll go more details. And we want to develop IPv6 procedure and guidelines for entities within Saudi Arabia who want to deploy IPv6. And we want to have more and more awareness sessions. The project started in May 2013. We expect the project to take about 2.5 years almost. We are now in the process of working with we have finished the initial phases, which is the benchmark and developing the assessment for Saudi Arabia, the IPv6 status in Saudi Arabia. We are now in the gap analysis and trying to develop the roadmap. We have conducted already one workshop that was in March this year. We'll have another workshop for the project end of the year, and the national conference will be the end of where we announce all the results will be in quarter 2, 2015. So we have done a benchmark for about 10 countries. I tried to learn what they have done to promote IPv6. Part of the project, we wanted to have a better understanding of what are the issues that enterprises are facing in Saudi Arabia. So we did a survey for 240 entities. We selected them from different sectors. Really wanted to have a good coverage for the different sectors in Saudi Arabia. So we have from government, oil and gas, retail, different, and we selected them from different sizes, big, small, and medium. So we really, before we get heavily engaged with the enterprises, we wanted to know really what are the issues that they are facing. So the first question was, how would you describe the general level of awareness of your organizations on the expected depletion of the internet protocol IPv4? And we have seen that almost 20% they have no idea what is IPv6, and IPv4 they just know they have internet connection and that's all. Some of them, 20%, they have a good idea. Some have, well, some idea about what is IPv6. So a lot of awareness is needed for the enterprises. Really, we have to work on that with them. Do you see drivers to adopt IPv6 by your organization? That was the second question. And we have seen drivers. Some of them, 30%. So the main driver was business continuity. The second highest thing was to be ahead of technology development. And there are some people who saw no drivers for IPv6 adoption. So this indicates that we can expect good demand from the enterprises, since it's important for their business continuity and for even their reputation and the image of the organization. And this really will help us on planning for the next engagement with the stakeholders. How would you describe IPv6 skills in your organization? 49%, half of them said they have minimal, basic or to minimal skills. 40% say they have medium skills, and only 10% they have good skills. So this is another area that we really have to work on with the enterprises, which is raising their skills, more IPv6 training, more outreach to them. Have your organization defined a plan for adoption? Again, the answer was almost the same. They're still working on it. They haven't considered it. Only like 2% they said they have a plan implemented, and 17%, yes, they are thinking about it. They have a rough outline, but 80% they have no plans. And if we look at those who said they have no plans, 46%, most of them are big organizations. 70% of them are big organizations that have, until now, no plans to adopt IPv6. So this is another thing that we really have to work on, approach them, try to convince them to move to IPv6 and be ready for it. Have you approached, and this is a question that immediately attracted the attention of the management in CITC. IPv6 support by service providers. We were talking to organizations, asking them, have you approached and discussed with your internet service provider their readiness plans to offer their services over IPv6? We were assuming that everyone who approached the service provider by now would say, yes, I approached him and he said he can offer it, he can deliver it to me. And the answer was 77% didn't even consider approaching the service provider, which is an issue in itself. But if we look at to the people who talk to their service provider, 6% they got an answer, a service provider was able to support them. 16%, which is almost 80% of the people who talk to their service provider, couldn't get a good answer. The service provider will either have minimal service or no service at all, or he tried to sell them something else, but really they didn't get the support that they deserve from the service providers. Before doing the survey, we were not expecting really to see this red flag here. We were expecting everyone who talked to a service provider will really get a service. But this gave us another area that we really have to work on. And again, this has attracted the attention of the management in CITC, and they really want to take to the head of the companies about it and see why this answer. Initial analysis for us was that in the past few years, we're working a lot with the technical team, but the sales teams were not really aware of what is happening on the background. So if they can go to the right team inside the service provider, they will probably get IPv6 connectivity. But the sales teams, when he doesn't see it in their normal offering or whatever. Again, a question to the organization about compliant procurement policies. Do they require IPv6 in their procurement policies? And 50% says, 54 says no, they don't even require IPv6. And out of those, 65% are big organizations. So they're doing massive projects and they're not even mandating IPv6. This is another area we have to work on when we work with enterprises. So what are the next steps? Now that we have a better understanding of the requirements of the enterprise, what we are doing now, the first thing that we are working on, and this is we already started engaging with some of the big universities, we wanted to take success stories with enterprises. So part of the project, we want to work with 4 entities from 4 different sectors, from the educational sector, financial sector, government, and private enterprise. We want to take one entity from each of these sectors and get them from an area where they have no IPv6 connectivity to a level where all their internet-facing services are IPv6 ready and available in production. We have started engaging last week with one of the big universities in Saudi Arabia, a university with about 60,000 students. So we expect to get that up and running within 2 to 3 months. And then we'll start working with the other pilot projects. We hope that all of these stories will be shared in the conference that will be early next year. Another thing that we're working on now is to develop procedures and guidelines for entities within Saudi Arabia who want to apply and deploy IPv6. We want to give them customized in Arabic guidelines on how can they start, why is it important, what are the first things that they need to do. And the last thing is, of course, as always, more and more awareness. So we have already we had one workshop, we'll have another workshop end of the year, and we have a conference next year. And this is all really to promote IPv6. We're already talking to the MENOG and to really customize the IPv6 roadshow to add more and more focus on the enterprises now. The roadshow it's been developing over the years. Initially, it was mainly for ISPs. Now they added more and more enterprise content, but I think there still need to make it, focus it more on enterprises, how they configure their services, DNS and website, and other services. And this is, we are talking to Osama and the team about it. That was my last slide. So if there are any questions.
Any questions?
Hello. Hello. Yep. You mentioned that CITC's offerings. Sorry. Hi, my name is Samir Mohammed from Orido, Qatar. You mentioned that CITC is offering some kind of support to the service providers.
Yes.
Could you just touch upon what is the kind of commercial, etc. support that CITC is offering? Specifically to service providers.
I'm sorry?
To service providers.
Okay. When we started in 2007, our first discussion with the service providers was, are you going to, this will cost us money, are you going to support us financially? And the answer was, at that time, was no, and it's still no. So we'll give them guidelines, help them with training, arrange strategies together, but financial support, they haven't been in the past. I don't think it will be in the future. But it's mainly technical training, getting people together, get the customers together with them. And actually, it's on the other side. The service providers have been paying money. They have been hosting all these events. So all the meetings that we have in the past were hosted mainly by service providers and other stakeholders.
Matthew from Amazon, sorry, over
okay.
here. Just curiously, when you're helping these organizations enable IPv6, are you helping them with their corporate networks as well? So there's IPv6 to the desktop. One of the issues I found in a previous job was getting our corporate people to actually get IPv6 through a corporate firewall and onto desktops was almost the hardest thing.
True. So we decided to take the easy part, which is the internet-facing services. That was a discussion that we had initially, how far we want to go with them. And going inside the corporate network was very risky. And it will not help us really with our overall objective, which is have entities ready, having more content available. So we decided to stay at the internet-facing services level. So this is where we'll stop. We'll ensure that they have their addressing block from RIPE, their service provider connectivity is available, up and running, help them with their addressing plan, transitional period for their internet-facing services. So this is where we'll stop, but we'll not go into their corporate network, no.
I'd definitely try and help them. In fact, that is definitely one of the harder parts of IPv6 enabling. I used to work for an ISP in Australia, and we managed to get IPv6 to residential customers before I could get it to my desktop. And before, if people can't use it at work, it doesn't become real for them. So it might actually be really important. So.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you have to start somewhere. So for organization, we are starting with their internet-facing services. Yeah. With the service providers, they're working a lot to enabling their broadband customers to be ready for IPv6. And in the last meetings, task force meetings, STC, Mobile shared their plans on how they want to enable IPv6 for their customers. Their CPEs are now IPv6 ready. We were expecting them to enable it last year, in December last year, but I think it will be sometime soon this year. I'm not sure if someone from STC is here. He can comment on this also. I know MENOG were trying to get a speaker from STC. I'm not sure, but I don't think they were successful. But hopefully in May, we will hear from them. Their customers, all their broadband customers, the CPEs are IPv6 ready, so they can turn it on any minute. We want to make sure at least there are the other side, which is the content available.
Thank you.
Hi there, good morning. Dr. Ibrahim, thank you very much for, hello, good morning. I'm Paul Rendek from the RIPE NCC. Dr. Ibrahim, I just wanted to thank you very much for coming and actually presenting what's going on in Saudi Arabia. I can say that the RIPE NCC is very fond of our relationship with CITC and the work that you're doing there in Saudi Arabia, and we need to make sure that the rest of the region knows where this is going. And you certainly are a leader. You personally have put so much effort into the V6 initiatives that are going on in Saudi Arabia, and I can see where you're going. I know that the RIPE NCC is very keen on working together with you for the enterprise area, because you're right, that is one of the areas we're seeing that, you know, the ISPs or what have you, they're aware of this. I think it's even somewhat in their strategies what they're doing, but the enterprise people, they're just not really aware of what's going on out there. So I just would like to say on behalf of the RIPE NCC, we look forward to working with you in Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we look at this, by the way, this picture is from our first conference that we have in 2008, and you can see some RIPE people there.
Any other questions? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Bastal Momani from Arido, Qatar. From the roadmap, we've seen that up to 2015, it will be more like awareness and training. What is your roadmap or strategy for implementation and migration?
Okay.
And,
This is a good question.
Sorry, and which will come first, mobile or fixed?
Mobile or
Fixed.
fixed? Okay. When we started in 2008, I think one of the key decisions that we made in the task force is to focus on, I would call it infrastructure readiness. Service providers, core internet services like domain name filtering and security agencies, all that were taking care of that initially. We developed at that time a clear roadmap that by this date we want to make sure the Saudi CCTLD is ready. By this date, this thing is ready. Facility-based providers are ready. So we had a plan, and that lasted for 2 years, and we were able, with the help of the task force, really to achieve most of the goals that we put. Now we are in, we just finished the survey. We are working with the gap analysis. One of the key components of the gap analysis is really to put the deadlines and the timeline for the coming 2 years. So we are working on this. Hopefully we'll be able to share the roadmap with the task force meeting that will be coming in May. In May 20, I believe, or 22, we'll have a Saudi IPv6 task force meeting, and we will share the timeline and what exactly we mean by readiness of the infrastructure. But for now, we are talking about guidelines, procedure from them. We want to take the pilot entities, work with them. We are also considering certification programs, but what are the different components of that? This is something we are developing. We are considering on the event that we will have in 2015 to have some kind of an IPv6 award. So maybe people who have a certain level of ripeness will be awarded something or get some recognition by CITC. So there are a lot of components that we're considering now. I don't really have a clear answer for it, but this is something that we're working actually now, these weeks, after we finish the assessment and the survey, and we had now a clear understanding of what the market needs.
Thank you.
Kaveh Ranch for RIPE NCC. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It has been an impressive achievement, actually, for Saudi Arabia. I have more of a comment because I saw you had benchmarking in a few slides. And
yes.
I just wanted to mention that RIPE NCC also runs RIPE Atlas, which is a measurement system. And Saudi Arabia or any other country who wants to actually be able to measure how the penetration for IPv6 or other network issues like routes or ping times and all of that, we run this huge measurement network which can be very useful in this area. So I just wanted to mention that. And if anyone wants information about that or how they can use this measurement network to measure the penetration of IPv6, for example, they can either talk to me or any of my colleagues.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Because probably I have to discuss something with you in the break, because one of the issues that we are talking about now, discussing, is how do we measure IPv6 in Saudi Arabia? I mean, there are different measurements. Are we talking about routed networks, traffic, or what exactly we're talking about? And one of the issues that we're discussing now is defining a set of KPIs for to measure against and try to promote. So maybe we'll have a discussion in the break.
APIs and working together.
This is an issue that we want to define now, okay? Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
That's some good interaction. Thank you. And keep them coming. We want some more. Our next presenter is Axel Paulik from RIPE NCC. He's going to give us an update on RIPE NCC.
Yes, it does work. Should I on a desktop? Let's see it. It's interesting. It was me. Computers.
Thank you, Diaz. So, good morning. My name is Axel Pavlik. I'm the Managing Director of the RIPE NCC, your friendly membership association that tries to help all your needs and be working for you all the time. Short update today from my point of view, so the highlights. We have brought lots of colleagues, of course, here as you see, and some of them will go into some more of the details over the course of the year, of the day. Sorry. So some high-level overview of what I'm going to be talking about. The very good news is that, yay, we made 10,000 members in our service region. You see, pronounced, well, you can see an upkick in the last couple of months since last year. We believe the increase there is fueled a bit also by the depletion of IPv4 address space. Some of our members apparently don't give out address space to their customers anymore because they don't have that much themselves. They tell them to come directly to us, become a member, and get their 1,000 addresses they can get from us. I talk about that in a little while. So that's good. Of course, all the costs that we incur for all of our members are easy to be shared with more and more members. So that's a good development there. Regionally, we see the same, mostly the same effect here, with the notable case of Bahrain going down by one member, I think, but no, that's just one. We see growth in the region. That is good, and of course we are catering to that as well. Having said that, you know that we have established our little one-man office in Dubai in 2011, and I sent Paul to the region, and we've heard positive feedback about that, so we thought we'll do a little bit more about that, and so we did. We, first of all, that was relatively quick and easy to do, asked Sandra whether she would like to come to Dubai and help Paul here. But also we have signed contracts with two new employees from the region. I think Paul will go into the details and announce properly. But I'm just very glad to be able to say that we heard your wishes that we should present ourselves here a little bit stronger than we did before, and that we were able to do that. So we have a new and freshly painted office in Media City. The idea is to get in contact with you in the local language as well, and just be there, more visible for you, and have a local phone number for you to call and talk to us. The main operations, allocation of addresses and customer service and such will remain, of course, in Amsterdam, but we make extra sure that both parts of this company are very closely in contact. So yes, we heard that we have run out of IPv4 addresses. Of course, that needs a bit of a qualifier. We are into our last /8, and that has been reserved for, let's say, the future and new entrants to the internet market in terms of service provision. So every member can get 1/22 out of us. If you haven't done that yet and you are not aware of that, there is a little bit left for you. What we also, of course, see now that we can't give out large blocks is that the number of transfers of IPv4 address blocks increases. That was foreseen and is actually happening. And also we do see a couple of policies that have come into effect that are again being discussed right now, also new ones that make the whole bureaucracy around IPv4 allocation a little bit easier on us as the people who have to ask all the questions, but also on you, as you don't have to provide as much detailed information, long forecasts of what you want to do with the addresses anymore, IPv4 addresses there. So it makes it all a little bit easier and lightens the load and decreases the cost a little bit of looking into all this. That's a good change. Well, I think I just said that. And of course, it's important to note that those are changes in the allocation policies. That is not something that we make up ourselves. That is something that comes out of the community. You and your fellow members in our service region, within the RIPE region, go and propose those policies and debate them and support them. So this is actually your work and your success. Having talked about the little bits of addresses that are left in IPv4 for all of our members, that is sort of an overview of how many of you per country have allocated the final /22 to themselves, and how many are still without the last 1,020 odd addresses. So you see, there are many of you who haven't taken the opportunity yet. Go ahead if you need IPv4 address space, and I do hear occasionally there might be a bit of need here and there. There's something left. I'm aware it's not a lot, but it might help a little bit. Of course, running out of IPv4 address space increases the sort of value of those, or perceived value. And what we do see increasingly is that there are shady elements out there who try to get addresses the non-regular way. Basically saying it's criminals trying to get your resources that might not be fully protected. And we try very hard to get behind this and to see this when it's happening. We're checking all sorts of documents down to company registration papers, passport copies to make sure that people really exist, public notary documents in terms of company mergers and acquisitions and stuff like that. And it's amazing to see what those people are able to do, or not willing to do also. Falsified passports, falsified notary statements or signatures. In one case, we called back to the notary and said, "Did you actually sign this? What are you talking about? I've never seen this document." It's a bit scary. What I'm trying to say here is that please help us do this work. It's important that we do this in your interest, of course. So do keep your resources, the database entries up to date as much as you can, so that we have it a little bit easier and those bad guys have a harder job to do. Please help us protect your resources. That's what we have to do. It's important, obviously, for all sorts of people that the database, the registry is up to date. That's our most prominent work task that we are after, keeping the registry intact and correct, and we can't do that ourselves. You have to help us with that. So, in terms of working with us and dealing with us, contacting us, once upon a time, I do remember that we said, "Oh, email only, and we don't really want to see you. We want to be, behind that sort of a firewall." That is many, many, many years ago. That has changed, as you see. Now there's live chat out here. You can actually pick up the phone and call us. We have sent people into the region. They are here to talk to you. We're very happy to go out and to talk to you, also to improve the way you interact with us. We try to get more and more departments in-house into the live chat facility, and please keep looking at it. It's getting better all the time. Languages. Oh God, yes, that's a bit of an issue. We are covering in the service region 70-odd countries. That is a big number with many, many different languages. Actually, I don't know how many languages we cover, but a lot. So we hear occasionally, regularly now, that we should be working in more languages. So obviously we have a very international staff in-house, fairly well, but not completely reflecting our service region in terms of countries and languages. Some of that helps internally, but you don't see much of that on the website, and that is something that we want to look at. But it is a complex issue and difficult to decide how to do it and which languages first, for instance. More contact with the membership in terms of sending people out to all sorts of conferences, and we try to do lunches and stuff like that, just to informal things, just to get to you and talk to you. And as Dr. Ibrahim said, getting out to the enterprise, the C levels, that's something that we want to do and are trying to do there to increase our understanding of what's going on out there, but also the members' understanding of what we are able to do for them. So lots of capacity building here, lots of road shows being revamped, has been done many times already. We are looking at improving our e-learning platform quite significantly. The courses are being redone all the time. So it's all good stuff. And of course, a bit of the issue with this is it's all very popular, and there's lots of trainings going on. We always hear in the service that we do more of this, do more of this. So we want to do more of this, but also we want to do this in an efficient way that doesn't skyrocket the cost terribly. Yes, our website, we are looking at improving that again. So if you have any issues, any little nits that you don't want, that you don't like on the website, any ideas for improvements, please do talk to us. Oh yes, the membership association. We, of course, are an association of members, and most of you will be members of the RIPE NCC association. As such, you have a lot of rights and, of course, also demands. It's important that you tell us what we are supposed to do and how we are supposed to do things for you. We are working for you. So, directly, I respond in terms of accountability to the executive board. That's a couple of people from the community that are being elected by you, I hope. So occasionally those people's seats expire and they stand again, or no, you candidates stand again to be put on the board to tell me directly operationally what I and my staff have to do for you. Your candidates, your representation, go please have a look at the websites for the next general meeting. There are a couple of candidates out there. They need your support, and you might look at them, look at the bios, see how they relate to you, and please go and vote for them in the next general elections. And you don't have to go to any specific meeting. You can do it all electronically for a couple of years now. It works fairly well. Please do this. Oh, charging scheme. Yes, there's a charging scheme that is being proposed for next year. That is the direct button that you have to tell us we're doing things right or doing things wrong. Of course, the charging scheme is funding the activities that we are doing for you. So please have a look at that as well. And looking at IPv6, yes, IPv6 use in the community in our service region does go up. Members without IPv6 goes down. That's a good thing. Of course, adoption isn't quite there where we want it, but we've seen great plans from the region and across our whole service region. IPv6 is moving. That's what I thought it would happen once we run out of IPv4 properly. Then we'll see some movement, and we do indeed. So, well, you see the numbers. What we call IPv6 ripeness is sort of an indicator in terms of what you do with your IPv6 addresses once you have them, whether you announce them on the net in many ways, whether you use them or not. And we have the star system up to 4 stars, and you see basically across the region again how many of you per country are doing what with them. So that was the very high-level overview. We remain, of course, here for the next couple of days. I brought all of my executive board here as well. So those are the people that represent you informally in the association. Go talk to them, tell them what you want to tell them, and my staff there as well. Actually, guys, could you quickly stand up, staff and board, so that people see you? Thank you very much. So those are the people you need to talk to. Thank you very much. There are a few outside as well, and of course they come up on the slides regularly there as well. Please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Oh, staff, yellow badges. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Hi, Axel.
Elvis.
Elvis Valavi for escrow. If you can go one slide back.
One.
I've just noticed that there is a 5-star thingy on the ripeness side. It's probably one of the techies that I should be asking about, but
You should.
it's cool that you're working on the 5-star, on the 5th star.
Yes.
No, that was it. I just noticed it.
Any other questions?
Marco?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's still a prototype, but we are working on the 5th star that actually looks at the actual usage we see on IPv6. It's a prototype, so there's more information on our website, and otherwise have a chat with Kave or Christian, our colleagues from the R&D department, that can tell you more on what we actually measure and what we're trying to achieve with the 5th star.
Any other questions? Thank you, Axel.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of our opening plenary session. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for participation, your questions. We would like to keep that going. And also, I'd like to point out that we have 30-minute breaks. And that's more than enough time to get coffee, tea, and a snack, and to meet people. So I'd like to ask you to all go out and start talking to people that you don't already know, meeting people, introducing yourself. And before we take the break, I'd just like to ask, get a show of hands. How many of you are first-time comers to MENOG? Wow, that's pretty good, actually. All right, okay. Raise your hands again. Raise your hands again. All right, for those that have been here before, try to meet these guys, okay? All right. And how many of you are not on the mailing list? Our MENOG mailing list? Not on the mailing list. Raise your hand. Show of hands. All right. Okay. That's pretty low. That's pretty good. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So we'll be back at 11. And the speakers for the next session, please come up to Philip. Philip is right there in the back, and introduce yourselves. He's going to be chairing the next session. Thank you very much. Thank you.